Hello everybody, thanks for joining us here on another really amazing virtual wine tasting. We haven't done one of these in quite a while, but there was a lot going on in January and I wanted to make sure everybody had the chance to taste these amazing wines that we have in the lineup today. With today's lineup, we have really amazing Pinot Noirs. Wright Cellars is really the father of single vineyard Pinot Noir, and should be a really fun tasting. Some people got to experience these already, so you get to kind of show off that you got a special video. Anyway, diving right in here. Actually, before we dive in, first and foremost, check out this behind me. We're in the cellar. Pretty cool. You don't want to look at anything else in here because it's a mess, because I've just been really going at it with trying to cultivate our cellar here. But it is a fun experience for sure, and should give you all some fun stuff in the future to taste. But on that note of tasting, let's dive in. Yeah, let's just do the thing. Why not? So first wine is of course Wright Cellars Pinot Noir, and this is their straight Willamette Valley. So the way that you look at a lot of your AVAs or your American viticultural areas, or even your European wine regions, you start out with a big scope. So you start out with looking at Oregon, let's just say the state of Oregon. So what is grown in Oregon? And then to focus in a little bit more, you focus on specific AVAs or American viticultural areas, like the Willamette Valley. So the Willamette Valley is a larger swath, larger swath of land within Oregon that produces wine, and they can put that particular place on the label. And so with Willamette Valley being on the label, that means that these wines, these grapes, could be coming from anywhere just within the Willamette Valley. So Pinot Noir as a grape, it's more red fruit, so think cherries and pomegranate, cranberries, things of that nature, and it tends to be on the lighter side of red wines. Not overly structured, not too tannic, not too much of that dry mouthfeel. So that's kind of what you should be expecting with a really great Pinot Noir. Pinot Noirs from Oregon tend to be described more along the lines of Burgundy, with having some kind of earth notes. Think, potting soil, fresh leaves, dried leaves, fall, mushroom, that kind of thing. But already on the nose, it definitely screams fruit forward. You have to remember this is still a New World wine, and with New World wines, American wines, they tend to be more of that kind of bolder fruit notes driving the bus. So things like those cherries. And for me, this is very much like cherry and cranberry. I do get some of those earth notes. For me, it's more like mushrooms. I probably am supposed to spit that out because I'm at work, but it was really tasty. Everything that you get on the nose, you kind of taste on the palate. It's light on the palate, really good acidity, so it makes your mouth water, it makes you want to drink more of it. Great wine to just drink on its own. I think that this bottle is actually showing better than it was on the day of the live tasting. At least I'm enjoying a little bit more. I remember it being somewhat austere in the past, and it does have a little bit of that kind of austerity, but I think that it's something that kind of varies between bottle. But very tasty. This is good. Stephanie's behind the camera again, so I'm going to be looking at her and referencing her every now and again. And Stephanie, you're going to try this after this. This is so tasty. Not overly structured, just a really nice, easygoing Pinot Noir. All right, so now we're going to move into a more powerful style of Pinot Noir. Again, still working with Wright. This is kind of getting closer and closer to his single vineyard designate wines, which again are kind of his specialty. But the next two are actually single AVA bottling. So where with the first one, it just says Willamette Valley, so it's a large swath of land. These focus in on some smaller AVAs that lie within the Willamette Valley. So again, thinking about taking your large scope of Oregon, you zoom in to Willamette Valley. We're going to zoom in again to Yamhill-Carlton and Eola-Amity Hills. So we'll start with the Yamhill-Carlton in our glass. Already you can see that it has more color to it. I think the first one's very much, see-through, read-through. This one, it feels more extracted to me. There's a deeper color to it. And whenever you see deeper color in wine, really that's just going to be more extraction. And more extraction just means longer time that the juice is sitting on those skins, so they extract more tannin, more anthocyanins, more color, more aromatics, all the stuff, all the good stuff that's in the skins. Nose to palate, I would say this again is a fruit-forward wine, but it's more powerful. It's got more complexity to it. I think it's kind of like if you take the first wine and you just elevate it, you just give it more extraction, give it more attention, a little bit more love. It is on that kind of cherry and pomegranate note for me. It's not as sharp. The acidity is not as sharp, so that kind of pomegranate juice where you have more of that fruitiness to it. Earth notes are there. It's more to me like freshly turned earth or freshly turned potting soil. Just kind of that like earthiness to it. There's not a better way for me to describe it really when trying to really dive into it. But a fun wine. This is also one that I get that kind of almost like used coffee grounds. So after you make your cup of coffee, that is a marker for a classic marker for Oregon Pinot Noir. And I think that's also why some people kind of equate these to more Burgundy styles of wines. But with Burgundy wine, you're going to see more of those earth tones and more of those kind of secondary and tertiary characteristics and not so much of the fruit. But yeah, overall a tasty wine. I hope you like it. All right, let's dive into wine number 3. And once again, like the first one, like I referenced, we are looking at a single AVA bottling. So again, dialing in, zooming in to the Eola-Amity Hills. Again, you see more extraction. If anything, I think this one has even a little bit more extraction than the Yamhill-Carlton. I think that the Yamhill was more along the lines of this kind of like bright ruby color, and I feel this one almost has this kind of garnet color. It almost gets a little bit more brown tones to it. On the nose, I pick up a lot more of those secondary and tertiary characteristics, more earth. The fruit doesn't necessarily jump out of the glass like it did on the other two. Don't get me wrong, it's still there, but if anything, it just feels more balanced. And I would say that that's true on the palate as well. I think that this wine shows off its fruit, but it has more structure, more extraction. I think that this wine is something that can age for quite a while. I think the other two could age. I think the Willamette Valley could age for a couple more years and be fine. The Yamhill-Carlton could definitely age, kind of balance out that fruit. This one could have plenty of time. I think with those tannins, that structure, that acidity, it has the length to really, go for another 5 years before you open these up, and it would really be singing. I think that fruit would kind of come out a little bit more, while the tannin and the structure and everything kind of meld together a little bit. And these are young wines; these are all 2020s. They're all babies. And Pinot Noir does have the longevity to age. But yeah, I think this wine for those who like a less fruit-forward wine, I think this is for you. But yeah, I think this is a great wine, great food pairing wine. And really, you can see the difference between these two regions. You already see the drastic difference between the Willamette moving up to Yamhill, but you can see these nuances in between the two. Yes, they both have more extraction. Yes, they both have those cherry fruit notes, but you can really see how this one has more structure, more of those earth tones, more tannin, more mouthfeel. This one's more kind of bright and airy and kind of bouncy. But yeah, cool. One more wine to go. So now we're finally getting to what Ken Wright is known for, and that is his single vineyard expressions of Pinot Noir. And Pinot Noir is one of those grape varietals that really shows its sense of place or its terroir, where it's grown. you already see that in the expression of the wine 2 and wine 3. But now you get to really dive into this particular wine. And this is the Savoya Vineyard, and it lies within the Yamhill-Carlton district. So if you're zooming in, you're in Oregon, going to zoom in, Willamette Valley, zoom in again, you get Yamhill-Carlton and Eola-Amity Hills. We're going to zoom in on Yamhill-Carlton and find the Savoya Vineyard. I'm not sure the acreage or anything like that, but this is definitely a vineyard that he's been pulling from for quite some time. Again, some similarities that you're going to see is that more extraction, deeper color, and on the nose, you get that fruit that you kind of expect from what you got from the Yamhill-Carlton, but you almost get more of that kind of secondary and tertiary characteristics like you see in the Eola-Amity Hills. Yeah, so it's just deeper, more complex. It's got those earth tones. You get things like mushroom, fall leaves, feels like a fall day to me. Cherries and cranberries in hand, getting ready to go, I don't know. Why not make cranberry sauce in the middle of the woods? That's what I'm thinking. There's also these kind of savory herbs. It kind of feels like thyme stems, rosemary, sage. Very pretty wine. But again, it's a wine that I think almost needs some age. It's beautiful to drink now, don't get me wrong. But it's got a lot, it's hard for me to talk, you can tell. Acidity's making my mouth water, but it's also drying out, so I'm like trying to get my words together here. But beautiful wine that I think definitely could go for another 5 to 10 years in the cellar before you open it. But very, very tasty, great with food. I think really phenomenal dish. And this is something that I think could stand up to even some heavier dishes. You could put this with beef and be perfectly happy with it. I think a lot of times people underestimate Pinot Noir and its structure and its tannins. But there's a lot more there than you think there is a lot of times. It's no Cabernet Sauvignon, it's no Nebbiolo. But I think that it's definitely has more power than people give it credit for, especially on that kind of tannin and structure note. But yeah, this is a beautiful expression of just a singular sense of place. It almost takes the beauty and the elegance and the bounciness of the Yamhill-Carlton wine, but then makes it more serious. It gives it, it just feels like a more serious wine. Yeah. And on that note, yeah, that's all I got for you today. Really looking forward to what's coming up here in the next few months. We've got the tasting coming up here on the 3rd. Another By the Glass battle where we're going to taste some wines to hopefully then put on the By the Glass list. All French. Yeah, it's all French wine, because I think it's a shame that we don't have a French wine by the glass with so many, enophiles coming, with French, I guess, tendencies in your wine drinking. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I got a wine dinner on the 10th. I think that's sold out. I'm gonna try to squeeze in a few more folks. Going into March, got another really great tasting, blind tasting mayhem. I'm excited for that one, although I think it could be very chaotic. And then I've got a lot going on in March. I'm trying to get another dinner on the 31st, and then I'm also looking at doing a seminar, so a little more educational. But stay tuned for that stuff. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy these wines. Cheers.